Hi there. Most of you will have seen some of my car repair videos, but today I'm going to talk about something completely different, which is COVID-19. So I've recently been diagnosed with COVID-19. The test came in positive, and as you can hear, I'm talking away quite nicely, no coughs, nothing like that. But I just want to give you my thoughts on this. So what you see on my hand is a pulse oximeter. You can buy these on eBay, Google, etc. Just buy one of these, and you can attach it onto your finger, and it will give you oxygen saturation levels as well as your pulse. Now, the figures here: 96% oxygen saturation, and a pulse rate of 74, 75. 95, you know. Now, what do these numbers mean? Well, they say that the range is between 95 and 100 is good. It's normal. And pulse rate, 76 is not bad either. Now, in reality, these are ranges. So often manufacturers give ranges in order to actually show that the product's working. But if you're looking at it at a very technical point, what you want to know is what is the range for you. So 96 is very low for me, and my heart rate is normally 62. So now you can see it's 95 on the auction. So what it's saying to me is my lungs are not performing to the same level as before. So why is the heart rate gone up? Well, the heart rate is the body's way of compensating. So it does a couple of things for compensating. One is it might increase the level of breaths. So if I was taking deep breaths, let's watch the oxygen level go up. So you can see, so I'm taking these deep breaths to try and increase that oxygen level. Now there's a delay on that. So you can see now it's up to 98. And that's because I'm forcing oxygen into my lungs. Okay, so that is quite a tiring procedure and takes up muscle energy to do that. So heart rate's increased as well because it takes energy. So heart rate increases in order to compensate for the low oxygen that is passing through the lungs. So effectively, we've all got Fitbits. So if we look at our heart rate, and you know what your average heart rate is, it might be 80 for some people, it might be 90, it might be 60. And if there's a substantial difference, that may be one of the indications that you have got an infection, okay, which is affecting the lungs, i.e. COVID, pneumonia, something like that. These will all affect the lungs. So if you haven't got a cough, that might be your first sign that you get. It's looking at your Fitbit or your whatever smartwatch you've got that has a pulse on it. Now, the other thing I noticed is in the absence of a cough, I woke up with sore ribs. Now, sore ribs can often be caused by coughing, in which case you know that you've expanded those lungs quite a bit, but also it can be caused by the muscles in between the ribs, the intercostal muscles. And these muscles are used to stabilize the rib cage. Now, when the rib cage is stabilized, the body finds it easier to drag oxygen into the lungs. So when it's required, the intercostal muscles will work. Examples are when you're running, you'll find that you put your arms, after you're running, you'll see athletes put their hands on their knees and they brace their ribs to allow the intercostal muscles to work. And that allows them to draw in more oxygen than if they were just standing upwards. So evidently my intercostal muscles have been working whilst I was sleeping. Alternatively, you could say, well, it's coughing when you're sleeping. But either way, what I'm saying to you is if you've got sore ribs in the morning, then that, again, may be a sign that your lungs are working harder. Other things which are less obvious may be a slight increase in the rate of breath. So instead of having 16 breaths per minute, you might be taking 17 or 18. Would you notice it? Probably not. So pulse oximeter, a good way of actually telling you that you may have a problem. Smartwatch, a good way of telling you may have a problem if you don't have a pulse oximeter. Okay. Other things that I notice is that these numbers can vary quite a bit. So I am normally at 62 for my heartbeat. My heart rate for the last 3 days have been over 100. Right, that's my resting heart rate. Okay, and the lowest my oxygen level's gone down to is 93, which again, do I feel ill? Well, potentially yes. Do I feel feverish? Well, I felt more feverish in the past. So what's going on? Well, my body's compensating in many different ways. It's taking a little bit from here, a little bit from increased breath, a little bit from being more relaxed. Everything is compensating by adding a little bit from everything just to make the body tick over nicely without any obvious faults. The equivalent would be a car ECU, whereby if you're running short of oxygen, the car might decrease its fuel to match the oxygen ratio, things like that. So the important thing is actually knowing how these monitors work. So without actually knowing what you're looking for, it's actually very difficult to actually get any information other than to alarm yourself. But as I said, what would I prefer? Would I prefer using a thermometer on my forehead? Well, as I said, I have no fever, so that would give you a negative. Or would this increase in oxygen be the increase in the heart rate be one of the early signs? That is the problem, regardless of whether you have symptoms or not. The body is an amazing thing. It's able to, as I said, compensate for these any failures of the system by just doing a little bit to one, doing a little bit to another until it gets the result it wants. It's balancing equations essentially to keep you functioning as a whole. Though I would also say that I'm on no medication or anything like that. I'm quite healthy, and this is the critical part. Although I'm not suffering, there's a lot of people whose heart rates may be controlled using medication. There may be a lot of people whose lungs are not as effective as mine. There may be people who are on lots of medications that may interact in ways that we don't know with COVID. So really, my experience of COVID at this early stage may not be that of another. The other thing to also mention is that the viral load, which is how much virus in the air and how much you pick up, is really important as well. So if you have the ability to actually decrease the viral load by, say for example, you've got 2 or 3 cases in the same house, by actually separating the people with the cases, and that would be definitely something which may be there to reduce that viral load by a third. So I'm thinking that is another factor that you can actually use. Possibly the reason why so many doctors were ill is because in a hospital the viral load setting is going to be very, very high. If you imagine there's 100, 200 people with COVID in there and they're all breathing the same air, then yes, the viral load is going to be quite high. So separating individuals into their individual rooms and trying to maintain them there and keeping a nice sterile environment may be a good way of controlling this. So quite a long video. As you can see, I'm not even discussing whether this is a real virus or it's anything worse than the flu. All I'm doing is just putting my thoughts across here, and hopefully you'll be able to take something from it. All the best. Take care. Bye.